Happy weekend, everyone. It's Denise from Dobby Books. And today I went on a book sale. I thought there were two going on. I thought there was one at not my local bookstore, but one just a little bit farther out of town, the other end of the town I live in. And I had the wrong date. That was the 21st. So, and I came with my bag and everything. But they did have a little bookstore in there, so I went and I checked that out. And I was trying to find, I went to my usual categories. I first go to the classics, and then I go to the history section, and then I start meandering around after that. I'll look for Penguin Classics deluxe editions, Norton critical editions, some of them. So I have my favorite, my routine for what I'm going to be looking for. And at this particular place, I didn't find anything I liked. I went to the little bookstore just down a little ways inside the same building. And I'm thinking now that I don't think I found anything. And I was sort of bummed. I thought, all right, I know there's another place that's having a Friends of the Library sale just a little farther out, another bookstore that I frequented a lot. So I went there, and they have two locations. I went to their secondary location, and that one did have the sale. And I waited in line. It was very popular. There were a good number of people waiting in line. And I should have suspected something when I saw a lot of kids coming with their parents. What did I know? And teachers got in early. I didn't put two and two together yet until I walked into the room, which was not really that big. It was like a meeting room / community room, so bigger than an average community room, let's say, bigger than an average meeting room. And I'm looking at the signage, and it said adult romance, children's books, and that's all I saw, plus CDs and LPs. Nothing that I'm really interested in except for the children's books. So I decided to look through the children's books. Didn't see anything there that caught my eye. There were maybe 2 boxes of adult nonfiction that I looked through. Nothing did it for me. And I thought, wow, okay, well, this wasn't very exciting. And I walked out the door, and I was going to leave. Oh no, you know what I did find? Just outside the door in the building there where they were having the sale, they had the carts, the library carts, and one of them was labeled not antiques. There's another word for it, and I can't think of it now, but older books. So I decided, well, let me take a peek in there, and I did find something that caught my eye, and it's this, the McGuffey's 4th Eclectic Reader Revised Edition. So these are part of American history, and this is what a lot of children learned to read with. Once they knew their letters and their sounds and their basic blends, they were then initiated into the McGuffey readers, and they had all the different levels. This is the 4th. And if you look at, I'm looking at this as to when it was published, American Book Company. And this publication, let me see in the preface, copyright 1879, and it lists the then publisher. Copyright 1896 by American Book Company. And then copyright 1907 and 1920. So this tells me that this book may have been one from 1920. I love collecting these old primary readers. And if you go to the beginning, and it talks about the punctuation marks and how and when they're used. And this talks about, let's see, marks of ellipsis. I don't think I've ever seen this in a 4th grade reader. Marks of ellipsis. And on the other side, it's entitled Articulation, Elementary Sounds, Vocals, subvocals and aspirates, substitutes, cognate sounds. I'm sure they didn't expect the children to know this, but maybe it was a reference. Table of substitutes, vocals, subvocals. Wow. Aspirates, subvocals. So it keeps going through this. Wow. I remember vaguely these categories when I was in school, learning about them. Wow. Not all of them, obviously. And then exercises in articulation. So let me get my other glasses on so I can see what it's having the students do. I'm just amazed at how much more advanced the older generations were compared to the current ones. So errors to be corrected. These are misspellings. So instead of spelling every EV apostrophe RY, it's supposed to be spelled EVERY. So that's what this is discussing here. And it's going through all the letters of the alphabet for these different words. And for the sound letter R, it says, sound the R clearly and forcibly. When it precedes a vowel, give it a slight trill. How many details do we learn right now? I kind of wonder, having not been in school for a while, how much of this is actually still covered. It would do us a whole lot of good, I think, if we could return to some of this. Sentences for practice on that, inflection, accent. Wow. Eclectic series. This is so cool. Fourth reader. And then, of course, they all have titles, which the stories are all based on good character traits, which was the customary thing. And the first story is perseverance. But this is the level, if you're looking at this is the 4th level reading. Let me open it up to the 2-page part so you can get an idea of what these 4th graders were reading. I love to look at these old readers. Look at these old, I think this is a woodcut. I could be wrong. I think it's just very quaint. I think it's just lovely to look at these old readers. I used to have another level McGuffey. I don't think I have it anymore. There was a time when I was unhauling a lot of stuff that I used to keep in my homeschooling library that I used with my children. And one of the McGuffey readers, I think, was one of those. I should have held on to it. Here's another illustration. Yeah, I just love these. I love these old readers. You look at the binding. Just a lovely book. And it's part of our history. And this one, Dearborn, Michigan, August 1960. And it has a person's name here with their address in Akron, Ohio. Look at that penmanship. Beautiful, beautiful. Fantastic. So yeah, this is what I ended up finding. One book at that Friends of the Library sale. And then I traveled over, this next book? Yes. Then I went into their little regular bookstore on the other end of the library. And I saw a section that said children's book award winners. I immediately zoned into that because I collect the Newbery medal readers and the Newbery honor readers. And I thought, great, I can check off more from my list. And I found this one. This is a Newbery honor book by Julius Lester entitled To Be a Slave, with paintings by Tom Feelings. Look at this cover. I just thought it was fantastic. There's blues here and greens against the gold and the brown. I just loved that cover. This was, and this is a Puffin book. It was also an ALA Notable Book and an SLJ Best Book of the Year. This was published in 1968 originally. And then I think this particular copy I have was published in 1998, 30 years later. Great cover. And let me read you the little snippet in the back. What was it like to be a slave? Listen to the words and learn about the lives of countless slaves and ex-slaves, telling about their enforced journey from Africa to the United States, their work in the fields and houses of their owners, and their passion for freedom. You will never look at life in the same way again. And it's also perfect because it goes in with Black History Month. So I thought, you know what, this is a great read. I could add into it. So that would be great. So again, To Be a Slave by Julius Lester. Did I find anything else? Yes, this is the other one I found by Linda Sue Park, and it's entitled A Single Shard, and it's a John Newbery Medal winner. Look at the green on that pottery. That just stood out to me. And this, published by Yearling Press, a Yearling book, and it was published, this one, 2001. And this one, particular one that I have, is 2003. And the snippet on the back says, Tree Ear is an orphan boy in a 12th century Korean potter's village. For a long time, he is content to live with Crane Man under a bridge, barely surviving on scraps of food. All of that changes when Tree Ear sees master potter Min making his beautiful pottery. Tree Ear sneaks into Min's workplace and dreams of creating his own pots someday. When he accidentally breaks a pot, he must work for the master to pay for the damage. Though the work is long and hard, Tree Ear is eager to learn. Then he is sent to the king's court to show the master's pottery. Little does Tree Ear know that this difficult and dangerous journey will change his life forever. A single shard. Get the glare out of there. There you go. So that's two I'm adding to my Newbery Medal winners. I think I also found this one there as well, another Newbery Medal winner. And this is entitled Kira Kira by Cynthia Kadohata. And that cover kind of caught my attention. I thought, two women a girl and a woman walking in a field. Where? What is that? You know, what's it hinting at from the book? This is a Athenaeum publication, unless you pronounce it Athenaeum. Athenaeum Books for Young Readers. And this one was published in 2004. And the story on the back here, it's got a bent page. Oh, terrible. Okay. Kira Kira. Glittering. That's how Katie Takeshima's sister Lynn makes everything seem. The sky is kira kira because its color is deep but see-through at the same time. The sea is kira kira for the same reason. And so are people's eyes. When Katie and her family moved from a Japanese community in Iowa to the deep south of Georgia, it's Lynn who explains to her why people stop on the street to stare. And it's Lynn who, with her special way of viewing the world, teaches Katie to look beyond tomorrow. But when Lynn becomes desperately ill and the whole family begins to fall apart, it is up to Katie to find a way to remind them all that there is always something glittering, kira kira, in the future. That's a Newbery Medal winner. It's a pretty cover. It's not bad. I'm wondering if they made a movie out of it. I don't know. It doesn't say. Okay. These are 4 books that I found at the first library. This I found at the Friends of the Library sale, and these 3 I found at the regular little bookshop. So these here. So there's 4. Not bad. So that was nice. Now, then I went over to their main campus, their main building or location, and looked in their bookshop, which I've been to many times, and thought, well, let's see what I find. Again, I just sort of scanned the children's section and walked past it, and then went to my usual categories, classics and history. Oh, and looked for other things. There were a lot of presidents' biographies, but I thought, you know what? There's so many presidents to read about. It might be better if I just get there when I get there. I still haven't begun reading about the 2nd president of the United States, so I'm a little behind schedule. So, you know. All right, so after I looked at all the regular adult reads, really not finding anything, guess where I headed back to? The children's section. So I guess this is a day for children's books. And again, my eye was looking for Newbery Medal and Honor winners, and I found this one, Misty of Chincoteague. I remember having this book as a kid and starting to read it, and then getting kind of scared because it looked like the horses and the donkeys were suffering, and I couldn't read that. I just couldn't do it. So I stopped reading the book. Let's see how I do now. This is by Marguerite Henry. The original story was published in, so let's see if I had it as a kid. The original story was published in 1947. I don't think I had that year's copy. It says renewed in 1975. Maybe that was a copy that I had. And on the back, it says, nobody could capture the Phantom. She was the wildest mare on Assateague Island. They said she was like the wind, that the white map on her shoulder was her mark of freedom. Paul and Maureen Beebe, had their hearts set on owning her. They were itching to buy and tame her and worked hard to earn the money she would cost, but the roundup men had tried to capture her, and for 2 years she had escaped them. Pony Penning Day holds a surprise for everyone, for Paul not only brings in the Phantom, but her newborn colt as well. Can Paul and Maureen possibly earn enough to buy them both? So there we go. That's the first one I found. The next one I found, another Newbery winner, but this one is Newbery Honor, is The Wednesday Wars. I thought that was a cute cover. I can imagine what it was about. Definitely middle grade. This one was published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. And the copyright on this is 2007, but the setting is 1967. Holling Hoodhood isn't sure he'll survive the school year. He's just started 7th grade with Mrs. Baker, a teacher he knows is out to get him. Why else would she make him read Shakespeare outside of class? The year is 1967. He has bigger issues to worry about. The war going on in Vietnam, for one, and the Hoodhood family business, which, according to Holling's father, is more important than anything else. The Hoodhoods must be on their best behavior at all times. The success of Hoodhood and Associates depends on it, but how can Holling stay out of trouble when he has Mrs. Baker to contend with? That sounds like a cute story. So I got another Newbery. The next one that I found is yet another Newbery, and this one is a Newbery Medal winner. I was familiar with this title, although I remember it under a different cover. It's by Eric P. Kelly, the Trumpeter of Krakow. I like that cover. I like that cover. This one, I wonder if it's published by Scholastic. No, Aladdin Paperbacks. And this one was first published by Simon & Schuster in 1928. And this one that I have looks like, oh no, then it was 1960. So this one that I have looks like it was published in 1992. And the little blurb on the back says, there is something about the great Tarnov crystal. Wise men speak of it in hushed tones. Others are ready to kill for it. And now a murderous Tartar chief is bent on possessing it. But despite this, Joseph Charnetsky is bound by an ancient oath to protect the jewel at all costs. When Joseph and his family seek refuge in medieval Krakow, they are caught up in the plots and intrigues of alchemists, hypnotists, and a dark messenger of evil. Will Joseph be able to protect the crystal and the city from the plundering Tartars? And this is by Kids Simon & Schuster. There's my other Newbery Medal winner. And the last one I found, let me take the receipt out here. The Ultimate Unauthorized Eragon Guide by Lois Gresh. Now, I have the entire Eragon series by Christopher Paolini. Yeah, there's 4 of them, so it's not quite a trilogy. And I met Chris, and I went to a book signing of his. He's really just a lovely person. And I've read through all 4 books and listened to them on audiobook as well. So I thought this would be fantastic. It's in excellent condition. Look, it's still shiny new. The spine is just completely untouched. It's essentially very clean pages. It's in great condition. I don't think it was ever used. I can't even see evidence of the pages having, how people use a book, certain parts of it open better than others now. This is by St. Martin's Griffin. What an interesting name. This was published sometime in the 20th century. Where was it? There it is. First edition. This is the first edition, November 2006. And on the back it says, in Christopher Paolini's thrilling inheritance series, when a young boy named Eragon finds a blue gemstone in the middle of the forest, he has no idea what magic is in store for him. It hatches a sapphire blue dragon, a member of a race thought to be extinct. Eragon bonds with the dragon and soon discovers that he is the first in a new line of dragon riders, fated to play a part in a war that is poised to sweep his land. The Ultimate Unauthorized Eragon Guide is an interactive book that looks deep inside the complex world of Alagaësia to reveal facts behind the magical people, places, and creatures that fill the Inheritance series. And then it mentions, also included in this comprehensive guide, an in-depth look at many folk references, myths, and legends that form the basis of the books, fascinating facts about dwarves, giants, shades, and other creatures, a fascinating trip through the lore of dragons, tips for writing your own fantasy story, a biography of the author, plus tons of fun boxes and more. This book is a must-have for any fan of the Inheritance book. Yeah, I like this. Dwarves, the shades, Urgles, giants, and other beasties. There's the title there. I don't see the boxes. I was throwing that in there. Okay. So those are the books that I found at the second location. All of them Newbery medals or honor books except for this top one here. And these are the 4 that I found at the second location. So altogether, I spent 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, $4. $4 on 8 books. All children's books, and all except 2 are Newbery winners. So that's great. I was able to check some books off my list. And before I forget, I have other finds. Where did I go? I went to another, my library, like my real local library, the one that's like, within 2 miles of my house. I went there once when I first moved here, and that was, 5 years ago. And I remember thinking about that particular library, that it was very small and kind of old. You know, I thought, oh, you know, this thing, it'll grow eventually, but I never really went back. Um, I just kept going to my other one where I used to live for a long, long time. I favored that. So anyway, long story short, I didn't realize that they had a little bookstore. I may have forgotten, or I just didn't know. So yesterday, of course, I had to go flying out of the house. I told my husband I'll be right back. And I found these 5 books there. And let me show you. The Trumpet of the Swan, again, children's books by E.B. White. I have his other books. I didn't have this one. And there were 2 there. This was more of the original illustration, so I chose this one. And this particular book by E.B. White was published, see the pictures are by Edward Francino, in 1942. And I think this one that I have in my hand was published in 1987. So I'm happy I found this. The next one I found was Julie of the Wolves, a Newbery winner. Another one to check off my list. I thought I had this one, I don't. What did I tell you? Well, Trumpet of the Swan, I didn't cover what it's about. Lois is scared when his father tells him that he's different from other swans. He doesn't want to be different. Even though he can't talk, Lois knows he could learn to read and write if only he could get into school. Sam Beaver, a boy who understands all wild things, agrees to help. But Mrs. Hammerbotham isn't sure she can handle a trumpeter swan in her classroom. So there we go, that explains the name. The next one I found, Julie of the Wolves, Newbery Medal winner, and it says on the back, to her small Eskimo village, she is known as Miaks. To her friend in San Francisco, she is Julie. When the village is no longer safe for her, Miaks runs away. But she soon finds herself lost in the Alaskan wilderness, without food, without even a compass to guide her. Slowly, she is accepted by a pack of Arctic wolves, and she grows to love them as though they were family. With their help and drawing on her father's teachings, Miaks struggles day by day to survive. But the time comes when she must leave the wilderness and choose between the old ways and the new. Which will she choose? For she is Miaks of the Eskimos, but Julie of the Wolves. This was a winner in 1973 of the Newbery. Pretty cover, isn't it? It's looks like pastel, colored pencil. I can see the texture in the drawing. I don't know if you can. Can you see the texture? That's very pretty. The next one I found was The Green Ember. I've seen this book so many times, and I love that cover. Very pretty. This is by S.D. Smith, published by Story Warren Books, and the year of publication is 2015. And the blurb on the back says, Heather and Pickett are extraordinary rabbits with ordinary lives until calamitous events overtake them, spilling them into a cauldron of misadventures. They discover that their own story is bound up in the tumult threatening to overwhelm the wider world. Kings fall and kingdoms totter. Tyrants ascend and terrors threaten. Betrayal beckons and loyalty is a broken road with peril around every bend. Where will Heather and Pickett land? How will they make their stand? Sounds like a nice adventure story. Like it reminds me very much of the Redwall series, that kind of adventure. What a sweet book. It's in wonderful condition. The pages are just fantastic. It has some good floppability happening here. The spine is in wonderful condition. It's not even cracked. And the pages are still nice and white. So this is a very good copy. The next one I found was a children's classic version of Moby Dick, an abridged version for children. Cool cover, huh? This one was published by Bendon Publishing International, and it's Junior Classics for Young Readers series, condensed and adapted by W.T. Robinson. And this particular book was published in 2014. And I love how it introduces young readers to the classics. Pages are a little yellowed, but other than that, it's clean. Maybe it's been read. A little tiny bit of warping, but usually when I have kids reading through this, I need to live closer to my granddaughters. Usually, if I have children reading through this, I don't mind some flaws in it because kids can be a little rough. So there's this one, and then another one in the same series, but this is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And this one might have been published the same year. This was condensed and adapted by Clay Stafford, published in 2015. So these have been good finds this weekend. I think I did pretty good. I really, I had a weekend of children's books and award winners, and that's always nice. So I ended up getting 1, 2, 3, 5 books from my local friends at the library bookstore. And let's see if I can show you to you this way. These 5 books here. All right, so here's the full stack, everybody. Let's see if I can make it look nice and neat. Here we go. How many books are there? I don't know. This is my weekend stack book haul, and they're all children's books. And what's the grand total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books. 13 children's books. A lot of them are Newbery medal winners, and I think I had a productive week, an unexpected treasure trove, I guess. So that's it, everyone. I know if you like what you heard and you saw, don't forget your like and subscribe button. And I know it's been a rough February for all of us. Just stick together, stay strong, and find your community where you can feel supported. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a safe week. I'll see you in just a few days.